Alright, what's happening, y'all? Looks like Ron Rivera's finally making those moves we assumed he would make. It's your boy Rico from Street Scores, bringing y'all a Redskins report. I'm talking about who got cut, who may potentially get cut, how much cap space we saved with each cut. Let's get it. First of all, Josh Norman has been cut, which has saved the Redskins $12.5 million in cap space. He was 32 years old, but you already knew from how much money he was making with top cornerback money that he was going to be gone. Even with Ron Rivera in the game coming over, that still wasn't enough to save Josh Norman's job. The only way he would have stayed on the roster is if we would have restructured his contract mightily. But even then, I just don't know how he would have gotten on the field. Because Ron Rivera, the way he had his defense set up, loved zone cover corners. But Jack Del Rio likes his press man corners in his defense. And since Jack Del Rio is the defensive coordinator, his decisions overrule Ron Rivera's when it comes to defensive scheme. They may put their minds together to come up with a couple of things, but overall, it's Jack Del Rio's defense. And Jack Del Rio prefers the Aqib Talib and Chris Harris types. Josh Norman is not that mold at all. Quentin Dunbar, James Bradbury, Kendall Fuller, Jimmy Moreland, Fabian Moreau are all those type of cornerbacks. Josh Norman isn't. So this move makes complete sense. And on top of that, he was too expensive. We saved $12.5 million worth of cap space for that man. That's just 1 year. Just 1 year. And then you also have Paul Richardson, who was also cut. We saved $4 million from cutting him. And you could already tell the writing was on the wall. A couple of months ago, he deleted everything Redskins from his Instagram, including all his pictures and even like his username. At first it had like Redskins in it or Washington in it, something like that. And then he deleted all of that and it was just Paul Richardson or something like that. And then just a few days ago, Ron Rivera said he was looking for a veteran wide receiver to pair with Terry McLaurin. So basically nobody's safe but Terry McLaurin. But we're sure that the young guns like Steven Sims and Kelvin Harmon are safe, but we don't know about anybody else. I mean, Cam Sims might not be safe. I don't know if we'll bring back Robert Davis or not. But I'm pretty sure the core wide receivers are Terry McLaurin, Steven Sims, and Kelvin Harmon. And we already knew Paul Richardson was out the door. But now it looks like, especially after Paul Richardson has been released, that the Redskins will be looking for a lot of wide receiver help. Probably both in free agency and the draft. Hopefully we can go get a Robbie Anderson or an AJ Green. AJ Green is the higher ceiling but higher risk, but also cheaper option. But then you have Robbie Anderson, who's far more dependable. He has almost Deshaun Jackson-like speed, but he also brings that red zone threat with his 6'3" build and his ability to make contested catches. But he will be more expensive than AJ Green. So if I had to put my money on it, I prefer Robbie Anderson. And then we may go get somebody else in the draft. And with how late we may be able to get him in the draft, I think my favorite option is KJ Hill. Because we may be able to get him in like the 4th or 5th round or something. We'll see. Depends on how stupid he goes in the combine. If he ends up running like a 4.3 something, then yeah, we might have to get him in like the 3rd round. But if he runs anywhere 4.4 or something and doesn't do anything very significant in the other drills, then we may be able to snag him in like the 4th or 5th round. Because he had a great Senior Bowl week, but it wasn't Terry McLaurin's, and we got Terry McLaurin in the 3rd. But yeah, man, releasing Paul Richardson saves us $4 million per year. So by cutting Josh Norman and Paul Richardson, we have now saved $16.5 million just this year alone. You know what we can do with that kind of cap space? I mean, trade Boston, Bradbury, re-sign Brandon Sheriff, re-sign Eric Flowers, give Trent more money so he can come back, go get Robbie Anderson or AJ Green. You see what I'm saying? There's so many options to do with that $16.5 million. But we're not done. You also have Jordan Reed, who will more than likely get released. I mean, Ron Rivera already said that we do not have our guy in the tight end group yet, which means we'll probably try to go get one in free agency, like a Austin Hooper, Eric Ebron, or one of them. But we may also try to get one in the draft. And my favorites are Thaddeus Moss and Adam Trautman, who we can all possibly get 4th round or later, depending on what goes on in the combine. Nobody's draft stock is set in stone yet. That combine makes and breaks a lot of people. But as of today, you can get Thaddeus Moss and Adam Trautman 4th round or later. So if we were to bring in Austin Hooper, who I would only want for cheap, I do not want to reset the market. He is not Kelsey. He is not George Kittle. He is not Zach Ertz, talent-wise. And then if we can bring in Thaddeus Moss and Adam Trautman, bring back Hale Hinges to see what he can do, and give Jeremy Sprinkle his last chance, and see what all of them can do in training camp. Also, Greg Olsen, if he's willing to go for very cheap. Because Greg Olsen has now finished up all his visits with all 3 teams he visited, the Bills, Seahawks, and the Redskins. And now he's in contract talks with all 3 teams. So it looks like he's not going for a very cheap contract if he's actually listening to all 3 teams and watching to see which one bids for his services the most. So I'm thinking Greg Olsen's probably out of the contention for the Redskins now, at least for what I want. Because I only want him on a very, very cheap deal. And if he's out here listening to offers between 3 teams, he might be a little bit more expensive than I want. But yeah, cutting Jordan Reed would save us $8.5 million towards the salary cap, which will add up to $21 million saved this year in salary cap alone. And then, of course, you also have the tackles. On the right side, you have Morgan Moses. If we plan on replacing Morgan Moses in free agency or drafting a replacement, then we can save $4.85 million in cap space this season by cutting. And then there's Trent Williams, who I'd prefer to bring back, of course. But if we were to just cut him, we would save $12.5 million in cap space. And then last but not least at all, Ryan Kerrigan. If we were to cut or trade him, that would be $11.7 million worth of cap space saved. But there's also the option of restructuring his contract. Dan Snyder loves him. Ryan Kerrigan really wants to stay on the team. So I can definitely see a scenario where Ryan Kerrigan's contract just gets restructured and he makes way less money and saves us a lot of cap space that way and stays on the team and contributes. And it's part of a rotation with Montez Sweat and hopefully Chase Young, in my opinion. And oh boy, you bring in Big Beasley to be the Sam linebacker. I don't know how much money he's asking for, but boy, that defense can be filthy. That rotation would be stupid. Having Ryan Anderson as a depth piece as an edge rusher or a Sam linebacker, come on now. So right now, after cutting Josh Norman and Paul Richardson, the Redskins are projected to have $53,988,010 in salary cap going into 2020. But if we wanted to max out our cap space, say if we cut or traded Jordan Reed, Ryan Kerrigan, Trent Williams, and Morgan Moses, that would bring us up to almost $92 million in cap space. That is ridiculous. That's the most cap space I've heard the Redskins have in like forever. That might be the most we've ever had in just free cap space to use for whatever we want. That is team changing, especially with a new regime. But if I had my way, I prefer to cut or trade Jordan Reed. More than likely just cut. Please, Jordan Reed, just retire for your own health's sake. This is me just talking to you because I care, bro. Go ahead and sit down, pick up a controller and just start playing video games or get involved in football another way. Love your family, do all of that, but just no football anymore, all right? So get rid of Jordan Reed, restructure Ryan Kerrigan to where he's possibly making, I would say, hypothetically, half the money he's making, since he'll be part of a rotation. So let him make like $5 million this season. Keep Morgan Moses, draft the replacement, but you won't be sure if the replacement will be ready year 1. So at least keep Morgan Moses going this year. Definitely bring back Trent. And that would leave us with almost $67.5 million worth of cap space. And we'll still have Trent Williams. We'll still have Ryan Kerrigan, but restructured. And that means Josh Norman, Paul Richardson, and Jordan Reed are all gone. And like I said earlier, that will be cap space that this new regime can utilize to build the team the way that they want them built, along with the draft that comes late April. But this free agency period that starts March 18th is about to change the Redskins forever. I'm telling y'all, we're about to make big moves. I feel like the front office will actually be aggressive. And like I said earlier, I really want Trey Boston at safety. Justin Simmons is a dog, don't get me wrong, but he'll be very expensive. And then for a veteran wide receiver, I would love to bring in Robbie Anderson or AJ Green, big body receivers. If I had to choose between the two, I'll put my money on Robbie Anderson because I am kind of tired of getting injury-prone players. I'm pretty sure AJ Green will be cheaper, but Robbie Anderson will be far more dependable and at this point probably more athletic and faster and all of that. And then at corner, I would love to bring in James Bradbury. And you can never have too many corners, so if Kendall Fuller is willing to take a cheap contract to come back to his original team, then why not bring him in? I think I like Jimmy Moreland more in the long run, but it wouldn't hurt to bring in Kendall Fuller, especially if he's willing to come in for a cheap contract. Then you never know if the Redskins might want to get Corey Littleton at linebacker. But we'll see though, because the linebacker situation is very interesting, because Sean Hamilton is a very good cover corner, but he's also the brains of the defense, so it would be weird for him not to be at Mike. But then if he's at Mike, where will Cole Holcomb be? Because he's not good in coverage, but he's great at run stopping, so he's super built to be Mike. But then you also have Josh Harvey-Clemens, who is our best coverage linebacker, period, on the roster when healthy. He can cover tight ends, which would make him a good Sam, but he is also the linebacker on the roster that is best at covering slot receivers and running backs on wheel routes, so he's probably our best Will linebacker. But if Reuben Foster comes back healthy, where will he belong? Either Will or Mike. Then you have Ryan Anderson, who is a definite Sam. I mean, he's a great option at Sam. But if we were to go get a Vic Beasley off the market, who is converted from edge rusher to Sam, he would probably be even better than Ryan Anderson at Sam. And then Ryan Anderson would just be a great depth piece. I mean, the possibilities are endless out here, y'all. And we now finally have the cap space to make those moves. We have enough money to re-sign Eric Flowers and Brandon Sheriff, even though I feel like we may just end up tagging Brandon Sheriff and worrying about extending him later, like next year or something, and then going ahead and being aggressive this offseason, especially since we need to give Trent Williams more money. But yeah, man, that's all of the updated Redskins news and how it affects the salary cap. Thanks for the view. Please get in them comments and let me know how you felt about the moves. Now that Josh Norman and Paul Richardson have been released, how do you feel about it? Who do you want the Redskins to release or trade away? Who do you want the Redskins to sign with this new cap space? Please get in them comments and let me know. Thanks for the support. Please like the video. Please subscribe if you haven't. And again, catch y'all later. I'm out.